Hi guys, this is Parsifal. I also go by Will, and I am back with another character babble. As I said in my last character babble, I'm going to be talking about my OC Chloris. And for those new here, I am going to be talking about my character over a speed paint of them in the background. And if you would rather mute me and put on your own music, that is totally fine. Feel free to do that. Now, I would go into some starting stuff here, but this is actually the second time I recorded this audio, and so this is the second time I have sat down and done this because the first time I did it, my recording software wasn't actually going, so I had to do this all over again. And for people who are familiar with my videos, I don't do a lot of cuts because I am very, very bad at trying to figure out where I broke or where I stopped. And I've tried using the clap method and it doesn't super work for me. So, yeah, I have to do this all over again. Uh, so hopefully I'll get everything, but I am not sure. This is my character Chloris. He uses he, him pronouns, and I will be talking about him a lot in relationship to other characters or in comparison because he, as a character, he's more like an NPC as opposed to a developed character as of right now. He does have personality and quirks, but a lot of his importance in the story is due to the seeds that he laid down, not due to who he is as a person. And this is because in the story, he is actually already dead. And I do this a lot with characters. I have characters who aren't active in the story, but I work with them a lot, and I feel like it's important because knowing the characters, well, one, it's fun, but two, knowing the characters and how they interact with other characters is part of certain frameworks, in my opinion, and I work a lot with character motivation and why they are the way they are and their origins and stuff like that. So it results in me having a lot of background characters end up becoming important in the background, but they never actually get touched on in the story. And Chloris is one of those characters. His effect is far-reaching throughout the actual family that and the Kane story that he's in, or rather, his family is in. But he himself isn't super super duper active in it because he has passed away. And so, he as a character is kind of a foil, I guess. And I definitely have some lore bits about him, but they don't really come up in the story at all. So there's that. Yeah, so uh, he is a Kane. So he is part of my Kane family, who are the royal Unseelie the royal family of the Unseelie. So he is part of the nobility. But as I mentioned in my Claudius speed paint, they didn't start out as nobility. They became nobility when Claudius willed herself into being the Elder King and the almighty ruler of the Unseelie Fae. So Chloris isn't really used to being royalty, doesn't really act like royalty, and isn't really super concerned with being royalty. And actually, unlike most of the other Kanes, Chloris actually is a adopted Seelie who was, I don't want to say kidnapped, but that's a thing that Fae kind of do. They kidnap children, and that's how changelings are made. But he's kind of like a changeling, but with a Seelie fairy instead of a human child. So he was a Seelie fairy who was raised by the Unseelie. That affected his abilities, and that affected how he acts and how he is personality-wise. So, unlike most of the Unseelie and most of the Kanes, he is very expressive with his emotions. He is extremely happy all the time. He's very positive, and he's very helpful, or at least he tries to be. He can be very self-centered. Part of that is just due to how he grew up, and part of that is just being a Fae. Most Fae are self-centered and a bit self-serving and kind of egotistical and arrogant and up their own butts. But that's just kind of how they are as a species. Chloris has dominion over the realm of protection. So he manifests that as protecting his loved ones specifically. Not everyone, but the people he cares about. And so, unlike Claudius, who is ruler and king due to her just willing it into being, Chloris is more of her guardian. He's also a bit of a diplomat, though he doesn't do that as often because he much prefers to be out in the field and doing stuff. He likes being active. He's very energetic, and he enjoys working with people. But not like necessarily like negotiating with people, because while that's working with people, that's not really, he doesn't see that as doing anything or being active. He sees it as a lot of mental chess sort of things, and that's not really the stuff that he enjoys doing as much. He's kind of a straightforward person. While he is very happy and tends to use happiness as like a general overall sort of emotion, he doesn't try and hide his other emotions as much as the other Kanes and the other Unseelie do. He can get very frustrated. He can express a lot more, and part of that is due to the fact that he's not entirely Unseelie. He is partially Seelie, and he, as the Fae of protection and how it manifests with him, he also is not protective in a way of someone can't be hurt ever. He manifests that as trying to do what is best for the people that he cares about. Trying to make sure that they are protected from the greater harms as opposed to like small emotional hurts or things like that. And this is also partially because when he and Claudius grew up, they sort of had to fend for themselves because their dad was not a great parent. And so he understands that sometimes there are certain sacrifices that have to be made regarding like emotional hurt or physical hurt in and stuff like that in the case of trying to keep someone overall alive, healthy, or what have you. As a result, he's one of the few people who actually is not afraid of Claudius. Claudius tends to be kind of intimidating to other people, whereas Chloris is not afraid to just tell her how it is. He will tell her that people are afraid of her. He will tell her things that she may not want to hear, because he believes that it is probably better for her in the long run to know that, as opposed to being blindsided or blind to her own flaws, because being blind to your own insecurities or any sort of like flaw in like a security system can cause an issue in the future. But yeah, I actually did miss out on talking about his relationship to some of the other characters in the story, like Marshall, but hopefully that can be for another video. So thank you guys for joining me for this character babble, and I will send you guys to the outro. Bye! Well, that's the end of this video. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, or contact me on any of my social media, which is linked in the description below. I also have my Patreon there if you guys want to throw a monthly donation at me. Thanks so much for your support. I'll see you next time. Bye!